These entitled neighbors think they can keep everyone awake with their annoyingly loud parties. But this man has had enough and decides to enact some revenge to make sure it stops for good. Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. When I was in college, I would work at the liquor store in my hometown each summer to earn cash for the school year. Important things to note? I had been doing this for a few years, and my cumulative working time made me one of the store's most veteran employees. But since other employees only ever lasted a few months, no one knew me. Therefore, each time I came back, I was seen as the new guy. This also applied to the regular customers. Since I was only working during the summers, I would work 6 days a week to try to save as much money as possible. It was a small town, so we were the only liquor store besides the stores like Walmart, which are allowed to sell in my state. Finally, the last thing to note is state law says anyone under 40 needs to be ID'd, and store policy was to check a second document to make sure the name matched their official ID. Anyways, a few days after I started for my third summer, I had a customer come in. I hadn't seen him before, and he looked to be in his mid to late 20s, so I of course ID'd him. I can tell he's slightly annoyed at being ID'd, as regulars of the store often are, but he gives it to me and that's the end of it. Or at least I thought so. A few hours later, he's back in the store picking something else up. I remembered him from earlier, but state law technically says if they leave the store and come back, we have to ID them again, even if we know for a fact that they are over 21. Also, my manager happened to be in the store at that time watching, so naturally as he's checking out, I ask him for his ID again. He will be rude customer and I will be me.
Wow, you must have a really bad memory, huh, bud?
Excuse me?
I was in here earlier. I thought you would remember.
I'm sorry, sir. I do actually remember you, but I still have to ID you again since you left. Also, that's my manager over there and he doesn't know you were here earlier, so if he were to see me not ID you, I could get in trouble.
No, you don't have to try and make up excuses, just admit you have a bad memory. I know you're new, so you don't know how IDing works yet, but just remember my face. I'll be in here most days, so don't waste my time asking for my ID.
At this point, I was ticked off that he insinuated that A, I was making up excuses, B, I had a bad memory, C, that I didn't know what I was doing, and D, he felt that since he came often, the law doesn't apply to him. Now, admittedly, it was pretty standard practice with a lot of employees that once you knew a regular, you wouldn't always ID. But I decided, stuff this guy. I vowed at that point on, if he ever came in when I was working, I would make sure not only to ID him, but ask for a second form, because it's store policy. I didn't know at the time, but I later came to find out that our work schedules coincided, so that I was working when he was off work and would be able to come in. Other things I found out are that he came in almost every single day when he got done with work, and that he lived close by, therefore walked to work and to the store, which is important because it means he couldn't go to a different store each day. Since I worked 6 days a week, and at the time you couldn't buy alcohol on Sundays, he had to see me every day. Over the next month or two, I would ID him almost daily, and I always made sure to ask for 2 forms. If there was a second checkout line, RC would always get in the other line, even if it was longer. The problem for him was that because I had become the manager of the store, it was normally only me and one other employee during my shift. I would normally handle the register while my coworker stocked the cooler. This meant 80% of the time I was the only checkout line, so there was no avoiding me. The first part of my revenge was the minor inconvenience to him of constantly being ID'd, but I got several acts of revenge in addition. One would be when he would see me not ID other customers who were regulars in front of him, which really ticked him off. Others came from some of the interactions we had, such as this.
I swear you have the worst memory of anyone I have ever met.
What do you mean?
I would think that by now you would know I am over 21 and stop asking for my ID.
Oh, I know you are over 21. In fact, I have a pretty good memory. You have an out-of-state license, and your date of birth is this. Now, before I can sell this to you, do you have 2 forms of ID on you? His hatred for me continued to boil for about another month until he hit his tipping. It was actually my last day working before I went back to school, and he came in. I was excited to have one last opportunity to be petty. He came in when we were rather busy, so a full line of customers and my manager had stopped by. When it was RC's turn to check out, he threw his 2 forms of ID on the counter before I had the chance to say anything. As I was checking them, he let out a defeated sigh. Here's what followed.
I should really stop coming here. This store has been a massive pain in my butt. Actually, you know what? No, it's not the store. It's just you. You have been the massive pain.
I was acting innocent. What do you mean? All I've ever done is my job and sold you your alcohol. At this point, he started literally screaming, which took me a bit by surprise.
You know damn well what you have done. You freaking know that I'm over 21, but you always ask me for my ID. Screw you. I have seen you not ID others. I want to talk to your boss. If it's really state law and store policy, you should have been asking everyone for their IDs as much as you ask me. I'm going to get you fired, you freaking douche.
Sir, please calm down. I assure you that I'm only doing my job by asking for your ID. I know it's sometimes inconvenient, but both the store and myself could be fined if I don't ID.
Bullcrap. You always make excuses and I'm tired of it. Your coworkers don't ID me. They know who I am. It's just you.
At this point, he was cut off by my manager. What's the problem here?
This guy keeps IDing me even though he knows I'm over 21.
So, that's both store policy and the law. Also, sir, I can't have you screaming and using that type of language here. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises.
Fine, just let me finish paying for my...
No, I need you to leave now. I am denying you this sale. I won't sell alcohol to anyone who is already acting belligerent in public. He ended up leaving without his normal purchase. At this point, both the customers behind him and my boss asked me what set him off. I just said, I don't know. All I did was check his ID. The ironic thing about this one is that the rude customer kept trying to accuse him of having a bad memory and being stupid basically, and yet he couldn't even pick up on the fact that the employee was playing dumb with him the whole time. Hey guys and girls, big setup for some petty revenge close to the end of this. It's been quiet. A little too quiet. There's a family who live 2 floors above me in an apartment block who have managed to tick off everyone by having a massive party that got out of control almost 3 months ago. I got home today around 5 PM from the gym and can hear them on their balcony making a lot of noise. I push it out of my mind and go about having a shower, making some dinner, making the dog some dinner, watching a little Netflix. I'm getting ready for an early night as I have to be up at 3 AM the next morning. I put some earplugs in, close my eyes, and drift off to sleep. Boom! A massive crash wakes me up. I sit bolt upright in bed and groggily check my phone. 10 PM. I make my way from the bedroom to the backyard. To get to my backyard, you have to open a big sliding glass door, which is also surrounded by floor-to-wall glass windows that allow me an unobstructed view of the backyard. I open the door and see a soccer ball sitting there and a fresh imprint of the ball on one of my glass windows. Someone has thrown the ball down into the backyard. It's ricocheted off the backyard walk that separates my yard from the street and hit my window at force. I look up at the noisy neighbors on their balcony, and there are 4 kids screaming at the top of their lungs and throwing various bits of debris into my yard. Plastic, bottles, a stray tennis ball. I yell to them, "Hey, be quiet please, I'm trying to sleep." The kids rush inside, laughing. I go back inside only to hear them rush back out and continue throwing stuff into my yard and yelling. Fuming, I jump into the elevator and make my way up 2 flights and knock on the neighbor's door. I hear muffled voices giggle and say, "Shh, he's outside." More laughing, but the loud yelling and music continues. I knock again loudly. Nothing. I make my way back downstairs, checking my phone. It's now getting close to 11 p.m. I call the police. I explain to the officer, who answers, about the noise level, the screaming kids, the fact that they're throwing all types of stuff into my yard, potentially damaging my property. I also point out if he runs my name and address, he'll see previous complaints against these people. The officer confirms that he has seen several complaints from me and other tenants in the building. As he's looking up the past complaints, he asks, "Is that them?" He can hear the screaming and music. Yes! I'll send a car over right now. I sit back and wait, and wait, and wait. Checking my phone, it's now 11:55 p.m. I go to the front security door and ring their buzzer. I can hear the obnoxious shrill buzzing reverberate in their apartment. A woman picks up. "Hello? Yeah, can you keep it down please? It's almost midnight." "Who is this?" "It doesn't matter, just keep it down please." "Oh, okay." She hangs up. I sit and wait. Someone turns the music up louder. I ring their buzzer again and again. A young male voice answers. "What? If you don't stop, next call is to the police." "You can threaten us all you want. We don't care." "I'm not threatening. If you don't stop this, I'm calling the police." "We have friends over. We are going to be as loud as we want for as long as we want." Frustrated, I go back down to my apartment, put on a movie and wait for the police. I'm startled awake by my own apartment buzzer. I walk over and answer it. It's the police. I look at the time. It's 1 a.m. I'm annoyed it's taken them so long and the upstairs neighbors are still raging on. I open the door and await the officers as they make their way down. Immediately, they're sympathetic. They can see I'm exhausted and hear the noise. I explain everything to them. The male officer explains that even though they're the owners, they need to abide by noise ordinance laws and also the bylaws of the building commission. He takes my statement, asks what apartment number they're in, bids me goodnight and heads up to speak to them. I hear them knocking on their door. No answer. "It's the police, open up!" I hear the door open. Music is finally turned down, and what ensues is a 30-minute conversation of the neighbors saying that they are the owners and can do whatever they want. The police quickly shut them down, saying that they are disturbing the peace and violating various other codes and laws. Finally, the police leave at 1:45 a.m. and there's silence in the apartment block. Now for the petty revenge. 2 days later, I'm heading out to walk my dog, and I can hear someone pressing a buzzer over and over again. I get to the front security door. It's the male that answered the buzzer that night, holding coffees, and has obviously locked himself out. He looks annoyed and has probably been out there for ages. He sees me coming, and relief washes over his face. He'll be able to get through the locked security door as I make my way outside. Also, he thinks. I crack the security door open, let my dog go through first, and then I slip through quickly. He bends down to pick up a small bag of goods, and as he's about to walk through, I slam the security door, locking him outside. He literally stands there, shocked, and also ticked off. I smile down at my dog as we go for a very long walk. Take that, you jerk. Because sleep is so important, there's nothing more annoying than a noisy neighbor late at night or early in the morning. Yes, this guy did get some petty revenge, but I don't think it was enough. I thought this story was going to end with him buzzing their apartment early in the morning to wake them up. I work as a bartender in a small cocktail bar for some time now, and I'm usually chill, but bullies can still push my buttons in a wrong way. Before starting, I may be in the wrong for doing this, but it is what it is. A week ago, a bunch of guys came for a few drinks. They seemed like okay dudes, early 20s, but the group dynamic was kinda off. Introducing the main antagonist. Obnoxious guy, too loud, snapping his fingers at me when ordering. Don't snap fingers at bartenders, kids, we're not dogs. Punching his friends in the shoulders all the time. A sportier, really aggressive version of David Spade character he was. Next to David Spade sat the victim of most of his playful teasings, silently enduring his crap. I really felt sorry for this fellow. He wasn't a drinker, but he looked like he'd rather be drinking distilled devil's urine than continue sitting next to this macho maniac. He was really uncomfortable. David continued to bug him to take a shot at least. "Come on, one with me, don't be such a pansy." Until after the whole night of persuasion, finally my dude waved the white flag. Okay, let's do one shot together, then leave me be. Two of your most messed up shots, Spade shouted, snapping his freaking fingers, while I imagined snapping his neck. Oh, you'll get a messed up shot, buddy. I made this 2-layered shots, but while looking almost the same, they were different. David got really strong alcohol, really nasty business altogether, and the other guy got mostly syrups, juices, harmless stuff. They looked almost identical. Red absinthe can pass visually as cranberry juice, Stro as a syrup from brown sugar, Sambuca as anything colorless, etc. They took their shots and all hell broke loose. Other guy chugged his shot like a champion, not even flinching. Why would he? He drank juice. But David Spade, boy oh boy, he looked like he'd have a brain aneurysm. Tears pouring from his eyes, coughing like his lungs want to come out. He had a face and a posture of a man who just got waterboarded with some sort of chili sauce. Other guy looked surprised until he caught a wink from me. But David Spade and the rest of the crew, now roaring with laughter about his misery, suspected nothing. They got their shots on the house. Poor dude was left alone, and David was a good boy for the rest of the night, deflatedly enduring small mockings from his fellows. Now, I may have used my powers in the wrong way, but this is the first and only time I messed with customers' drinks, and I regret nothing. He was rude, aggressive even, to everyone around him. Screw you, sporty David Spade. The classic tough guy ain't so tough after all. We all enjoy that good moment in a movie when the guy who's just in everyone's face finally gets it all shoved back into his face. Not only that, but he saved the other guy from the humiliation Mr. Tough Guy was trying to cause for him. So I feel like this is a double win. Quick backstory. Between age 18 and 19, I worked at a small pretzel shop inside of our city's Walmart. My boss and the shop owner didn't particularly like me, and I can probably guess why, but it's a bit of a personal issue there. In short, they themselves were petty too. Whenever someone reported an issue with me, typically bold-faced lies and unbelievable stories from one Walmart employee in particular, they wasted no time writing me up for it without getting my side of the story, so there already wasn't too great of a relationship there. The shop hand rolled all pretzels, and in large amounts, the pretzels could be a pretty big pain in the butt, especially when only 21 fit in the oven at a time, and we had to wait for them to come out of the oven to roll more. We did a small catering-like service where we prepared large amounts of various menu items for parties or gatherings. All you had to do was call in, place the order and time of pickup, and we'd have them ready for you. You didn't have to pay until you came to pick them up, which I'm gonna guess probably changed after this. Back to the main story. I closed one night with one other closer. We stocked the case with some of each item before cleaning up, and that would be the last items we made for the night. We had a pizza made of pretzel dough in the case. Normally, we had 1 or 2 pre-made in the fridge that would only need to go into the oven, but at night we didn't. So at last, one was already baked in the case. A woman came up and asked if she could have one with lighter crust. My coworker said, "Yes, I'll get you one," and was about to run to the back to get a non-existent pre-made one. I told her to wait and explained to the lady that I'd have to make one for her while I still had the dough out. I explained it'd be about 8 minutes for me to make it and bake it. She said it was okay and she didn't want to wait. I told her to have a great night and she left. No issue. Now, our register had a microphone on it, so my manager could have listened to mine and the lady's conversation without a problem. But I guess they didn't want to. My coworker decided to tell them that I told the lady she couldn't have another pizza at all, and so without asking me what actually happened, I was fired. That was my first job, so I was heartbroken. I cried for a few days. Now here comes the best part. Knowing about the catering service the shop did, my sister's boyfriend decided to call into the store and order 80 pretzels that he'd pick up at 8:30 when we stocked the case one last time for sale, luckily for them. Since he didn't have to pay until pickup, it wasn't an issue for him to do this. 8:30 comes around and we're inside the Walmart. Every now and then, they do a $1 pretzel deal to sell any remaining products that needed to go. You could hear them yelling clear on the other side of the store, much to our enjoyment. At about 8:50, we hear them screaming, $1 pretzels! once they realized no one was coming to pick up the pretzels they had busted out. They had made 80 pretzels and now had 10 minutes to sell them before closing for the night. I guess her boyfriend just didn't take too kindly to how they treated me. It's still a pretty funny memory to look back on.
Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.